Okay, just want to thank everyone for giving some time this afternoon. I want to talk with everyone about 5 serious pressures impacting IT in 2022, and I feel stretching into 23 and possibly even 24. Um, Real quick, we're going to go over just some quick housekeeping items. Roughly, the presentation will be between 30 and 45 minutes. All phone lines are muted, and if anyone has any questions, please type them into the question box at the bottom. Really would love to hear from you and dialogue on some of the topics, and any question is a great question. My name is Tyler Bauer. I'm the Director of Cloud and Hosting Services for Cloud at Work. I helped start the organization in 2017 and have been a part of this organization since its inception. What I thought we could do is maybe start just by a quick review of who Cloud at Work is and what we do that's so unique, and then dive into some of those points. So Cloud at Work, as I mentioned, we were founded in 2017, and we focused primarily on delivering 2 things: the absolute best cloud experience for Sage end users and the absolute best experience for Sage partners. And we do that by combining enterprise cloud principles with what we call Sage nuance, and really focusing and honing our skills and honing our technology to absolutely bringing up to the top the application and its performance for its end users. Now, when we started the organization, we saw there was a lot of gaps. There was a lot of other cloud providers out there who mainly were focused on infrastructure, and they were focused on principles of security, availability, and redundancy. However, when it came to the application and the third parties and the different types of nuance around delivering an application in the cloud, they really were not connected to that. And a lot of finger pointing took place between partners and those types of vendors. You flip that on its head, there were and still are a lot of Sage hosting companies out there who are specifically focused on Sage. However, most that I've researched and that I've seen have not been able to take it as far from an enterprise cloud methodology perspective as Cloud at Work. This can really be highlighted in this type of delivery model. So if you think of a customer using Sage today, you're probably thinking of AWS or Azure. However, in order to deliver on AWS or Azure, most companies and most folks don't know that you're going to need some sort of specialist to help you with that, to help secure it, back it up, manage it, make sure that it's working optimally. That, unfortunately, typically is going to take an additional layer, whether that's an internal hire within your organization or going out and finding a management company to help you with that. The third layer is your publishers, so Sage in this case. Now, most Sage end users that I talk to aren't just using Sage. They're using Sage and other third parties. Maybe they have a customization. Maybe they're doing multiple integrations in other areas of their business. So they have a very unique use case specific to their company. And the people who bring that all together for them are the fourth layer, your business partner. They're able to take all of those different nuances within your business process and apply those to functional applications to solve those challenges. And then, of course, you, the client. Now, in this use case, it seems like we've checked every single box. However, without knowing what you're looking for, kind of what's around the corner, this model will lead to a very inconsistent experience. When I'm talking to CEOs and CTOs in 2022, the number one thing that they're looking to solve for is how to consolidate and simplify the IT consumption experience. The employees and where and how they're connecting and the applications, everything is already craziness. We don't need to add to that. So we need to simplify the layers and simplify the vendors in delivery. And that's what Cloud at Work provides. That's really our unique factor, is that by consuming Cloud at Work, we are the data center, we are the cloud management company, and we are the only certified Sage hosting provider in North America for all products. So Sage 100, 300, as well as X3, and we're certified in both Canada and North America and the States. We are the only hosting provider who has that. So by having that deep knowledge around Sage, we're able to not necessarily do the work of your business partner, but we're certainly able to connect the dots a lot closer than any other cloud provider out there. And what that leads to is by working directly through and with your business partner, we can solve all of the challenges that you need in a very consistent way. Now, that's what makes us different. This is definitely what makes us relevant. So every deployment within Cloud@Work is 100% virtual private. And what that means is we're isolating your environment from every other customers in our data center. There is not one piece of technology that is shared among customers. Now, why that is because we want to isolate performance as well. We want to isolate security threats. Just because someone clicks on something they shouldn't have shouldn't put your business at risk, and vice versa from a performance standpoint. So through this type of architecture and these types of principles, we're able to really promote the experience that you're looking for. As well, because of this type of architecture, we have no limitation as far as customizations, third parties, anything that you're looking to accomplish with the application, we can provide. Now, we have a 4 nines uptime guarantee. Now, what that looks like is essentially 52 minutes of unscheduled downtime per year. That's what we guarantee. Now, you might see other cloud providers who guarantee 99.9%. While you think, man, that's pretty close to 100, look at the difference between 3 nines and 4 nines. Cloud@Work, we guarantee sub 1 hour. If you have a 99.9% guarantee, you're looking at around 9 hours of downtime. It's almost 9x, more than 9x. Now, for the last 3 years, we've actually trended, Cloud@Work has, at 6 nines, so sub 32 seconds per year. So really, really proud of that. Now, the way that we're able to deliver these are through our data centers. So we have 3 primary data centers. One is in Collegeville, Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia. The other is in Dallas, Texas, and our newest facility is in Toronto. In Toronto, we now are able to serve our Canadian brothers and sisters who are next door to us, and also keep their data in Canada. Now, we do not own these facilities. We definitely are tenants in these facilities, but we own all the technology in them and operate the entire cloud platform to you, the customer. Everything is 24/7 by 365. We custom build specific to your business today as well as for the future, and we give a lot of redundancy and backup back to you as a customer. Every customer in our data center has hourly snapshots of 48 hours and daily backups of 30 days, all stored on separate networks and also geo-redundancy built in natively. Now, you can layer on things like dual-factor authentication, disaster recovery, and some additional security policies and technologies that we have. But that is really the core product. And we can build on top of that with any retention policies or security policies that you may have. Okay, so with that being said, let's jump into some of the trends. So before we do that, let's just kind of do a quick recap of 2022 and how we got here. So today, more than ever, we rely on technology, and we do it a lot different than we did 3 years ago. You look at remote connectivity in the workplace and how that's changed. I mean, that's really turned on a dime in an opposite direction. We've always had the urge or the need to get faster speeds and to do more with less. Younger generations coming in, as well as just our natural urge to use technology, has always been, we want more now. But now more than ever, being at home and working and finding different ways to become more productive, faster speeds and more data are here, and they're going at wild rates of increase. More and more mobile technology is being used in operating a day-to-day business, and we don't have a water cooler anymore for most of us. Most of us are jumping on Teams or Zoom to get face-to-face interaction with our coworkers or customers. Newer generations coming into the workforce have a very high sense of on-demand. They want things now, just because we're not together in an office or because one's in California and the others in Toronto does not mean that we shouldn't be able to do things faster. And the applications that we want to use to make things go better, faster, stronger are now requiring more horsepower underneath that scale. All the while, things that are trying to take us down and pressures on society, such as supply chain security, are impacting the way that we consume. And so that's what we're going to talk about. What happens when, though, all of those things slow down? They just stop working and they don't do what we want them to do. It's just chaos. It's a different chaos today than it was before, but it's more of an annoyance and it's a hindrance and it's not productive. So that takes us into the first piece, the first pressure, and that's really supply chain. And I believe it's one of the largest ones to monitor and to be aware of. So most companies today, even still today, are using cloud technology in some way. However, from a core infrastructure perspective and mostly from an application perspective, are still using traditional on-prem methods, buying a server, keeping it on premise, putting it on there. When I interview customers, most customers explain to me that's mainly because of cost. It's worked this long and it works fine. We don't have a ton of people connecting remotely, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of excuses or a lot of reasons why not to shift to the cloud. Some of them are very valid. No matter what anyone tells you about transitioning to the cloud, it's always a risk conversation that you have within yourself. And even for cloud at work or your business partner to have that conversation and tell you what to think is wrong, because ultimately you have to assume your own risk. Now, if no one's having that risk conversation with you, that is a problem. And you certainly need to understand what those risks are so you know what your consequences could be based on the decisions. However, supply chain is impacting those decisions in a different way. Everyone up until this point was saying cloud is better because it's faster, unlimited resources, you can just go. Come on, it's the new sexy thing on around the area. However, now the traditional way of purchasing has changed. You can't get it anymore. For certain pieces of equipment, you're looking at 52-week plus lead times. Cloud at Work, as an example, spends millions of dollars on IT infrastructure every single year. And for certain pieces of equipment, we're managing some at 48-week lead times. And in other cases, for just common servers or common storage, we could be looking at 2 to 3 weeks, which is a long time for us. Now, that's all that we do. We purchase and procure infrastructure and deliver cloud services for a living. However, if you're manufacturing widgets or distributing widgets, this is a distraction, and it's something that you need to stay on top of in order to make sure that the risk isn't changing. And that's the big key, is that the risk, the goalpost is moving based on the decisions that we're making in a very short amount of time right after we're making those decisions. So where this takes us is that buying a server and keeping it in your closet for 5 years, that day is gone. It's impossible. We have to think about single points of failure at this point because we can't buy anything new if it breaks. So we need to have replacements, or we need to invest in redundancy in other ways. So what would it mean for us if we took the same tactic that we have, again, assuming that we're buying a server and keeping it for 4 to 5 years? Well, it's going to take 12 to 18 months to get a new one. And on top of that, you're going to pay 30 to 40% more on the secondary market based on inflation. And your employees and all of your customers and users are unwilling to bend on their experience or to lessen that experience. It's doing the opposite. And your reaction in a scenario where you have a challenge could be that you need to snap react to the cloud. And the whole time you're not able to be productive. Now, the whole point of this talk is to get proactive with this and to think about what could happen so that you can understand your own risk and put yourself in a position for success. these types of actions of not doing the exploration or not doing the fact finding are leading to a lot of customers who are calling us and snap reacting to the cloud in a panic, whether that's ransomware or a break fix scenario. So it's very important to take this serious. So there's 3 ways that you can solve the problem. You can buy more stuff, you can invest in a disaster recovery scenario, or you can use the cloud to scale. In the buy more stuff scenario, you'll need to manage those lead times that we talked about. You'll also need to fill single points of failure, single gaps to create redundancy, maybe where you didn't need them before, but now in order to meet the risk, you need them. Everything is going to be more expensive when you do that, and you'll need to manage and secure it. And those pressures we're going to talk about in a little bit are continuing to grow. So it's possible. It's just we can't do it the same way that we always have. We have to think of things differently. Now, we can invest and keep the same methodologies that we have and just look at a secondary environment to fail over to if something doesn't work. However, there's still inefficiencies in that type of model. Most disaster recovery scenarios are not built for production for long periods of time. So definitely have in your plans if what happens if a server fails and you can't get one for 52 weeks, can you run in your disaster recovery site for 52 weeks efficiently? If you do have a ransomware event or a security event, is that data separate? Is it on separate networks? Are you architecting this correctly so you can not only recover but restore as well from these? Now, there's a lot of different methodologies here. Most companies that I talk to who have an on-premise infrastructure have some sort of on-prem device like a Datto or an Infrascale, and these devices sit on their network, they replicate data and then push it to a second set of cloud servers. And the number one thing that I could recommend with those solutions is make sure you're doing testing, not only for recovery time, so you're not down for a long period of time, but also for performance. So a lot of times with these cloud environments, they're built for short stints, maybe a day or 2 days of operating, and they're also built to just essentially connect and make sure that you can do core tasks. If you're still trying to run production reports and run these heavy processes within your application in an environment that's not purpose-built for production, you could run into some challenges there. So it's important to ask questions. Now, the second piece is you could look at Azure or AWS or Amazon to build a second environment and manage your own replication. However, that gets extremely expensive. Those environments can fluctuate, and as well, either you need to manage that yourself or find a second party managed or third party managed service company to help you with that process. As well, you could do what Cloud at Work is doing and go and rent space in a data center and put more infrastructure there. However, that option is really doubling down on the purchasing of infrastructure, which we just talked about those challenges. So most companies who are in this type of buying scenario or decision-making scenario are looking at cloud. And they're looking at cloud because there's unlimited scalable resources to be consumed. There's redundancy already built in. They have enhanced performance, usually based on what they've had before, and enhanced security, which are 2 main checkboxes that you want to show not only your customers, but possibly even your vendors that you're investing in. As well, the best part is you're not buying any more stuff. You're out of that piece of your business. Now, the second point is that the office is almost gone. So when we think of COVID and when it all started and how everyone kind of transitioned that work from home philosophy, most companies that I talk to have stayed there. Cloud at Work, as an example, is a 100% remote organization. But we've always been. So we've always been that since 2017. However, for companies who had brick and mortar and that was their primary way of interacting with technology, it's changed. And the data center or the IT environment around that company needs to change as well or adapt. So the instant gratification and the interaction with technology isn't slowing down, it's increasing. at an increasing rate. And just to think about just the most common piece, which is Teams or Zoom, and how that's put strain or put different types of challenges in front of IT departments for interaction. Think about what could be next with remote virtual reality and real estate markets in the metaverse, and how that will interact and put strain on the network and put strain on how we connect to our applications. There was an interesting stat that was in Gartner and IDC, and it showed that the average person today interacts with a smart device to a data center about 2,400 times today in 2021. They're saying by 2025 that will double. Now, I don't know about you, but I have 2 young boys, and I feel like I'm constantly yelling at my kids about being on their phones or their tablets. So picture that doubling. I mean, it's a lot of yelling. Now, what I realized through that and through reading some of the research is, no matter how much we yell, no matter how much we scream or don't like it, it's going to happen. There's nothing that we can do about it. Our business will either need to adapt, or we'll get left behind and we won't get the talent that we need to scale and grow. So we need to embrace it and understand that this is what's coming. Now, what happens if the usage of our data center, if everything is in our office, what happens if that doubles? What does that mean for our bandwidth? What does that mean for our networking devices? And what does that mean for secure traffic too? Changes a lot, and it opens the company up to possibly more risk. And so that's the common theme here. That brings us to our third piece, which is security. And I'll lump in compliance with that as well. So in 2018, 2019, I'm sure most of you, that's probably when you began to consume or look at, maybe even before that, cyber insurance. And that's just based on studies and kind of when people started to flock to it. Fast forward to today, security is ever more pressing, again, increasing at an increasing rate, both from a mitigation standpoint and technology standpoint, as well as threat actors and bad actors. However, it's interesting what's happening in the insurance industry. Before, you would just pay a premium, and I don't know what everyone's premium was, but to get a $5 or $10 or $20 million policy, it wasn't absolutely insane. Now, those premiums are insane. They are getting very, very expensive, and that's because people and companies aren't taking cybersecurity serious. Those premiums are going to continue to go up. I've seen some customers' renewals at almost 120%. Now, the reason for that is because we're not taking, as a whole, as a community, not taking security seriously within our employees and the technologies that we use. I'm seeing now cyber insurance companies requiring that if you have remote connectivity, if you have employees who are at their house and connecting to applications in your office, they need to have some sort of dual factor authentication to do so, or you can't get a policy from them. And if it's proven that your user was connecting to a remote application in your data center, and they can find that out, that you weren't using the MFA or dual factor, they won't cover it. So it's a big deal. I think it's going to expand even further into compliance and third-party audits to get lower premiums. So that industry, because we need protection, because we don't want the risk, we want protection. In order to get a lower premium, maybe things like SOC 2 come into play, where we need to prove through a third-party auditing system and show a report that we're taking this serious. Cloud at Work, as an example, we have all of the certifications at the data center, but every year we go through a SOC 2 Type 2 audit. That's both for our customers and vendors, as well as just to show overall controls and that we're taking these things serious. Now, reasons to take this serious are that in 2021, there was 68 different variants of ransomware out there. So if you think about that, 68 different variants is a lot of different iterations of ransomware, and it's changed and adapted so much. In the early days, it was basically like a net that we threw across the water and hoped that some fish stayed in. Now it's really changed and adapted to spearfishing and targeting and watching and using data and using interaction of employees a little bit differently. The average ransomware transaction per month has actually gone up to $102 million per month. And the average ransomware attacks in 2021 was 140 million plus, which is absolutely insane. The fourth piece is that inflation is a one-way street in the technology industry. So inflation's fluctuating between 6.5 and 7.2. In some industries, it's much higher. But one thing's for certain, it's the highest inflation rate since 1982. And in technology, unlike in the food industry or in the gas and oil industry, inflation is doing nothing but going up. Inflation only provides technology vendors and producers just a way to increase at an increasing rate. It's never going to fluctuate back down. So it's important to understand that within our planning, that if these inflation numbers continue for 2022 and 2023, this gives reason to technology vendors to increase the spends of hardware. And if you don't have buying power or leverage with major distributors and major manufacturers, you could end up paying a whole lot more. The other piece to mention is that price will never come back down. It'll just slow down the increase, basically. So something to really keep in mind. And the last piece, and what I feel is the most important piece, is the workforce, people, and retention. So Cloud at Work, there's no doubt about it. The most important asset that we own is all of our people and their mind share and their brains, and as far as their urge to help and to really care about our customers. That is super important to me. And if anybody who asks me, culture and really continuing to grow the company and the culture is extremely important. So things like working from home. People will want to do that because of health concerns. People will want to do that just for convenience and not wanting to travel, or possibly even spending money on the travel. As companies get younger, these types of interactions, not only with working from home, but the technology that we use to interact from home, will determine whether we have a growing culture, a culture of people landing at our companies, or a culture of taking off. Because if you get to the point where you're bucking the system from a technology perspective, and younger folks are coming into your workplace knowing that there's a better, faster, easier way to do their job, they're going to leave. And they're leaving now. People are leaving now, not based on money. They're leaving based on work-life balance. They're leaving based on benefits. They're leaving based on time off. They're leaving based on flexibility. They're leaving based on all these different components that are outside of the traditional, I make XYZ per month or per year. So it's really important how technology plays a role in that. Technology is definitely transitioned from a cost center to a way that can trickle into investing into your company and acquiring people, acquiring mindshare, and building culture. There's no doubt about that. So it's something to really, really remember. So quick summary, right? Right now, we are in this perfect storm of chaos, and it's the first time that all of these have happened at one time. It's not slowing down anytime soon. Be proactive, have the risk conversation, because when you think of supply chain, the new office and the new way that we connect, cybersecurity, inflation, and our people, they're very important things in growth and scale. And certainly all of us are in business to do those things, right? We want to succeed. We want to win. That being said, if you have any questions, please type them in. Be happy to answer them. This is all of my contact info. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime. With that being said, let me see if there are any questions. Sorry, just pulling this up now. I do have a question here, and it was around cybersecurity. The question is, uh, does Cloud at Work provide cybersecurity remediation? Like, are we a cybersecurity? I'm assuming a cybersecurity firm. We are not. We do work with a lot of fantastic organizations in the space, as well as Net at Work is a very big player in the security world, and takes it extremely serious for a lot of our customers. So certainly, let me or give us a shout if you have any questions there particularly. I don't see any more questions. So with that being said, I'll give everybody some time back in their day. Really appreciate it, and hope you all got something out of it. Again, contact me if you ever have a question or want to talk. All right. Thank you so much.